Today, thanks to Crafted Elements, we're going to take this template and this piece of walnut and make something sweet like this. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dirdorf and this is Detroit DIY. Crafted Elements has a whole wide variety of these templates, guys. I'm going to put a link to their website down in the description and go check it out. These templates I bought with my own money, but I have some templates that Crafted Elements sent me after I bought some myself and found that I really love their product. We need to run this through the planer. I've already done one side off camera. We'll get this side straightened out and then we'll be ready to get this going on. Now that I've got the walnut all planed out, nice and flat, just what we want, I'm going to go ahead and get this template traced on here and get it over to the scroll saw and get it cut out. Down here, I mean, we are just right there having enough material to do this, but it's enough, so that's all that matters. Let's get this traced on here. I've liked what I got down here. There's a little bit of blonde in this piece of walnut, and some of it's going to wind up in this board, and I kind of like that. Alright, just that easy. Now I'm going to take it over to the drill press and drill a hole in here so that I can get the scroll bit in there, blade in there, and cut that out. Let's go over to the scroll saw. I'm going to cut the hole out last. We'll start right here. Oops, I stole the cord from my table saw. We're not trying to cut right up to the line. What we want to do is stay a little ways away so that the router can take care of the rest. I'm going to drop this foot down. Alright, I'm going to keep cutting and we'll come back once I got it cut out. Now that we've got it cut out to its rough dimensions, we can go ahead and get the template on the charcuterie board, get it over to the router table where we can put its final shape on it, and then it's just a lot more work to get it done, but hey, we're that much closer. So what I'm going to use to attach the template is some Gorilla double-sided tape. The template also comes with the protective films on it. I kind of leave them on for a little while so that I don't have to clean the dust all off the board, and have no reason to pull this side off, so I'm just going to pull this side off, and the film can be a little bit stubborn. I'll just take my razor knife and kind of slide under it and try to get it started, but it definitely can be stubborn to get started. There, as you can see, we got it going good now. We'll just go ahead and peel this off. Of course, it hung up over here on this side. There we go. Alright, and we missed a little spot down here that didn't go, so there it is. Alright, now we'll get some double face tape on here. It doesn't take as much as one might think. It's a minimalistic kind of thing, and this stuff is strong, so it'll hold the template in place well. Just make sure that your serving board is clean, all your dust is off of it, so that your tape sticks. If any residue gets left on the board, you can try and pull it up with the tape when you take it off. Or I've been using some odorless mineral spirits without any adverse results in my finish. So I know some people say to use alcohol, but this mineral spirits has been working for me just fine. So now I don't know what would happen if I like immediately tried to oil it, but there's so much more sanding and stuff left, so you wouldn't be immediately oiling it anyway. I think I'm going to put just one little piece right here just to kind of hold that neck for me real nice. More than enough. Let's go ahead and get this backing off and get the template on. With the tape on, we are ready to get the template on. Now the main thing here is that you want to make sure you don't have to like hit your lines exact, but you want to make sure you have enough material everywhere so that you can have plenty to get into the router table. And before you press it, you can nudge it around a little bit. I'm happy with that. So we'll go ahead and press this thing down on there nice and tight. Alright, there we have it. Let's get it over to the router table and get it cut out. Now that we're with the router table, I've got my start pin in, which is very important. And I also have in some areas a little too much material. So I can't try to remove all that at one time. So I'm just going to skim over some of it, and even down this side is a little bit too much material. So it's important that I keep my workpiece against my start pin while I'm just kind of grazing some of this material off until I get it to exactly where I'd like to see it. Then with this one in particular, it's kind of all the way around. I'm a little bit heavy. So no big deal. We'll just take our time and skim it off. Oops. Alright guys, we're this far along. I am going to go ahead and keep working around this, and we'll come back when I've got her all done. Now that I'm finished at the router table and I took time to run my hands around, make sure I don't have any bumps or anything that I missed, I do unfortunately have a little bit of chattering right here. Sometimes in the side grains it's common for this to happen. So before I run my round over on this, I'm going to have to sand this out a little bit smoother. I'll show you how we're going to do that right here in a second. But we are ready to pop this template off. I hope you can see that the way that the camera's angled. Right here is where we have a little bit of weird stuff. That's really the only spot. So, but we're going to go ahead and get that side sanded. I've got my painter's tool, multi-tool, and we're just going to slide it right under the template and just go ahead and give it a little pry up. Get your fingers under there to get a hold of it, and then just continue to lift it up and move your fingers down. These templates are tough. It's what I like about these Crafted Elements templates. They'll put up with some abuse. We have no real tape residue at all on our board, Man, that's looking pretty good already. So I'm going to go ahead and get this off, and then we'll start hand sanding these edges a little bit before we go to the next step. So I've got it standing up on its edge here, and this isn't horrible. It seems to be cleaning right up for me. So, but I do want to take the time to make sure that it's as smooth as possible, so when the round over bit goes over it, I don't have any, that bearing doesn't fall into any of these. The mess will just get bigger if you don't take care of it now. No need to grow the mistakes. The reason this happened is the cutting board jumped on me a little bit in the router, and if it gets jumpy like that, you need to pull it away, but sometimes, you know, it's a little too late. It'll flex that flush trim bit a little bit, and it'll dig a little bit deeper than what the template actually is, and then you wind up with some chatter marks in it. So I'm happy with that. We got that pretty good. I'm just going to go around and check and make sure we don't have anything else that's going to interfere with putting our roundovers in here. I do feel a little bit right here. You can kind of stand out a little bit once I sand it just a tick, and that is really not enough to cause us any problems, because they're not deep enough for the bearing to actually really fall into. But irregardless, I am not gonna take a chance with them, and I'm gonna go ahead and sand them out now. So I'm going to continue around the edges of this and just make sure that we're smooth before I get these roundovers on. We are ready for roundovers. I've got my Rockler bench cookies here. We're going to get them out. I'll put a link in the description for everything that we've used. If you want to go down, check it out, get some bench cookies for yourself. Easy way to find them. What these are going to do is raise our workpiece up off our work table and make it very firm so it doesn't slip around, it doesn't do any of that crazy stuff. I have a 5/8 roundover bit in my router, and I'm using it as a roundover, and I don't want it to cut the line in here like you would typically have with a roundover, so it's just backed up a little bit in there. And we're ready to go. Take a look at this real quick before I go any further, because I'm putting a fairly strong or deep, whatever you want to call it, aggressive roundover on this because of its thickness. If this was a thinner board, I would not put this aggressive of a roundover on it, but with this one I think that it's going to make it look very nice, and of course it softens those edges right up. So let's go ahead and get this side finished up. When it comes to doing your roundovers, especially in the corners, but anywhere you want to keep this bit moving, and if your bit's a little bit dull, like you may have seen in one of my previous videos where there was some burning, this is a different bit out of an older set that I've had, but this bit has not been used quite as much. I'm going to go around this one more time because it's a little bit bumpy, maybe one from me going a little bit too fast, but irregardless, we're going to go over it one more time. Alright, now we're going to do this center hole right here. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. We're going to go ahead, flip it over, do the other side, and then we'll come back, take a look, and we'll start getting our sanding going on. Now that we're finished with the roundovers, we need to sand all our edges down. I like sanding the edges down first, so that if there's any thing that's weird, I can sand it out. And when I surface sand it, then it will re-establish this line if I get into it a little bit while I'm doing my edge sanding and sanding the roundovers. So this it's not horrible to do all the edge sanding, but if you find little things here and there, like I feel a little something right here, so I'll spend a few minutes inside here trying to get that nice and flat. And since this is 220 that I'm using, this is basically the finished sand for these edges. They will get sanded one more time before the finish goes on, but I really don't hit my inside edge or my edges or any of these with 120 or 150 or anything else. I just do it all with 220 from the go. Maybe takes a little bit longer, I don't know, but I just feel better about it doing it this way. So I'm going to keep sanding these edges, and we'll come back when it's time to get the surface. I have all the edges complete, and I'm ready to run over it with my random orbit sander. I have some 120 grit on here, and then we will go over it with 220 after that. I am seeing a little spots here from the tape, but I think it'll all sand away. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, do the other side, and then I'm going to hit it with some 220, and we'll come back after that. I've finished sanding it with 220. I've got all my dust wiped off of it, and what we need to do now is water pop it. And one of my favorite parts of doing these, because it's the first glimpse I'm going to get at what it's going to look like in a finished product, it's just going to wake it right up. And what this does is that once you get this board wet and it dries, it's going to raise all the grain. So it's going to get very rough again. It won't be smooth like this. You'll see when we come back. I'll run my hand over it, but you can listen to this. When we come back from it drying, I'll run my hand over it again so that you can hear the difference. And what this does is, when the end user gets this in the sink, if you don't do this, the grain will raise at that point in time. And when that happens, their board is going to become rough. It's not going to be smooth. So we need to take care of that here. get it wet, raise this grain, sand it back down. End user will be very happy with their board. I really like this little blonde streak in this board, and it's bigger on the other side. But let's take a look. Now we don't need to soak it, we just need to get it wet. But that is going to look amazing. And as you can see, that blonde there's a lot more blonde on this side than there is on the other side. This might be my favorite side right here. But we're going to go ahead and get the edges, get everything, and then we're going to let it dry. And we'll be back when it's all done, and we'll sand her again. The charcuterie board's been dry it's been way more than 24 hours. You can hear the difference in it, especially in this side, and some of the grain is not as rough as the other. So let's get a closer look. Or I should say listen. You can see that it's pretty rough through here. It actually stayed pretty smooth along this lighter color, except for this side, pretty rough. So we are going to go ahead and get this thing sanded with 220 once again. I'm going to do the edges first, and then I'll go through and use my random orbit sander to get the rest of it. All 220, no 120 this time. This will just be all 220. So I'll get this thing sanded out, and then we will head on to the next step. With the sanding done, we are ready to get some cutting board oil on this. This is Howard cutting board oil, and it is excellent for seasoning these boards, new wood. Once it's already been seasoned, then you can just upkeep them with the conditioner, and I will be putting a coat of conditioner on this also after the mineral oil soaks into it real nice. This, I think, guys, is going to be one of my favorite boards to date right here. This piece of wood is just gorgeous in my opinion. I really like this blonde side over here. I just think that looks phenomenal. Now of course the finished product is not going to be all shiny like this, but for whatever reason this run of wood that I got from the mill this time is thirsty. It soaks this oil up with no problem at all. So I'm going to go ahead and finish oiling this whole thing. I'm using painter's points down here to set it on, and then I'm going to let it sit for, I don't know, probably an hour, put another coat, and then in an hour after that I'll put another coat. So it's going to get 3 coats in total, and then we will come back and get the conditioner. Even this side, guys, with this little, the blonde is smaller on this side like I was showing you earlier, and wider on this side. That is a good looking board. Alright guys, I'm going to finish getting this on here, and then we'll come back and take a look when it is time to get the conditioner on it. The mineral oil's been on here for about 24 hours, and it soaked it all up very nicely. And we are ready to get the conditioner on. I'm going to put 2 applications of this conditioner, and then once it sets in, I'm not going to put it on near as heavy as the mineral oil. Once it sets up and dries, then I'll be buffing it to a low gloss is what you'll kind of get out of it with the waxes, but a very natural look. This will not alter, none of this will actually alter the look of the wood in the least. It'd be kind of nice if they stayed a little bit shiny like this. This is a gorgeous board. I am really pleased with this piece of walnut. Alright, I'm going to keep applying this conditioner to the edges and the other side, and let this thing cure up. Alright guys, that's all we got for this time. Let me tell you something, this is one of my favorite boards that I've made yet. Let's have a little closer look at this thing. Look at the grain pattern in this walnut. This is just gorgeous. I really like this board, and unfortunately this one already found a new home. So it's going away tomorrow, but hey, at least I have some pictures, hey, and a video. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider doing so. If you enjoyed yourself, click on one of those two videos that are going to pop up below me. And remember to always respect the power of your power tools. We'll see you soon.